Mike Plant, a 41-year-old native of Deep Haven, was last heard from nearly 3 weeks ago. But because he's so experienced in solo voyages, few suspected trouble when he failed to turn up on the coast of France late last month. His fiancée, Helen Davis, talked to us from France today.
I'm very optimistic, and, we have all the signals going to him that we're going to find him and, get him the help that he called for.
But it was just last night the Coast Guard discovered Plant apparently has been in trouble for nearly 3 weeks and had called for help. But his distress signals were never passed on to the Coast Guard. Because so much time has elapsed since he sent out his distress calls, there's real concern tonight about his safety. Sailing enthusiasts are concerned Plant may be suffering from dehydration, hypothermia, maybe starvation.
Well, I'm not one to try and dash hopes, but I'm certainly very, very concerned.
Tom Burns says Plant's the best when it comes to solo voyages, but he was facing some horrible conditions when he was crossing the Atlantic.
And then Hurricane Florence came cruising through here at the same time, see. And those hurricanes really stir it up for, a couple of days. Afterwards, you're in mammoth waves, and you're in real heavy-duty winds. Not beyond.
And where he was last heard from was hundreds of miles from land in any direction. Despite this, Plant's fiancée thinks now that a search is underway, Plant will be located.
Yeah, Mike's a survivor. That's the bottom line. And he's been through worse storms and hurricanes sailing around the world.
Earlier this year, Plant talked about the worst sailing conditions he'd experienced.
Probably the worst moments are down south when you're in the ice fields.
Tonight, Plant's friends and family wonder if he sailed into something much worse than those ice fields. They're praying, whatever it was, he survived it.
Very, very popular. It's a lot of people are interested in the storyline. A lot of people that normally don't read comics have been calling up and asking for copies.
It's practice, there's a lot of motivation for them, there's a lot of support, people's awareness is really up to date, and that gives them that encouragement to say, yeah, I'm going to give it another try.
When polled, a majority of these college students expressed a negative attitude about menopause.
They've heard a lot about hot flashes, like that's really going to be. They've also heard they're going to be crabby, they're going to be irritable, and they're going to become asexual, they're going to be less feminine, and so they're anxious about it.
These views are shared by millions of Americans, and the reason the change is considered taboo. But as the baby boomers meet menopause, a major shift in attitude is predicted.
We're bound to start talking about it. It's got to come out of the closet.
By our sheer numbers, boomers are changing the way we view the cycle of aging. With a shorter lifespan, our great-grandparents thought 45 was old. Today, with better nutrition, medicine, and exercise, we're pushing aside those attitudes, and greater value is being placed on mature women, something other cultures have always done.
There comes a point at which where you are able then to give more back to the community because you know more from having lived for a period of time, and so you're valued as you get older.
Although not scientific, some claim the stigma associated with menopause is not readily seen in cultures that respect and value their elders.
In most cases, when I've asked people, In most cases, it was no big deal. It's just something that you went through and you experienced. It was just simply a part of life. I think that we are analyzing it more today than we ever have in the past.
And today, with a good attitude and sound medical advice, women are beginning to realize menopause is a natural progression of life.
Become educated, read, talk to your friends. Most women's magazines have pretty good articles, really, about menopause and menopausal symptoms. And talk to your physician. Bring a list of questions and sit down and say, tell me about the risks of this therapy. Tell me about the benefits of it. What is your opinion? Am I a good candidate, or am I someone who absolutely should have this?
Give you a very short course here, but the taconite pellets, and so maybe we would sell some. I don't believe that this will be very controversial with our board. We've done a lot of discussing concerning this. I've talked to them directly in the last few days about it, so I'm not expecting that it'll be controversial, but there might be some provisions in the guidelines that they might want to modify, and that's what we'll be talking about tonight.
Well, you know how you are. You put them off and put it off until finally it comes to a point where you have to take action.
Eugene Mackey knew he was having problems, but he put off going to the doctor until those problems with urinating got to a serious point. 67-year-old Eugene was lucky. The prostate cancer, which the doctors discovered, was a low-grade tumor. It hadn't spread outside his prostate gland. Doctors offered Eugene a series of treatment options.
Either have the prostate removed, or have radiation, or have these shots, which you take monthly at considerable cost, or do nothing and just monitor it.
Radiation oncologist Dr. David McNaney said with a slow-growing tumor like Mr. Mackey's, the option of doing nothing was perhaps just as good as aggressive treatment. But Eugene had seen friends die from prostate cancer, and he's never been one to sit idly by and watch something happen.
But it's hard to sit there with knowing that you have a cancer in your prostate and do nothing about it.
Eugene chose radiation and had several treatments. It's been almost a year now, and he's feeling better, though doctors don't know what his outlook is. Eugene Mackey got lucky. Though he put off going to the doctor, his tumor hadn't spread.
But not all men are so lucky. If the tumor's a fast-growing type or has spread outside the prostate gland, medical intervention must be much more aggressive.
A doctor will discuss treatment options with his patient and will help him make the best decision for him. In many cases, treatment for prostate cancer will not affect your sex life or your ability to control urination.
There's two things. I think men jump to the conclusion that if I have cancer of the prostate and if something happens, then I'm not going to be able to have sex. And they start to worry early on, I think, about impotence or you know, it falling off or becoming little and shriveled up or all of the horror stories that they've heard.
But there is a risk for impotence, and modern surgical techniques, however, can minimize that by nerve-sparing procedures. Impotence also remains a risk with radiation therapy.
If a man is diagnosed with advanced or advancing prostate cancer, his treatment options and their outcome are defined by the doctor as clearly as possible. If impotence is a consequence, doctors help their patients come to terms with that and celebrate ongoing life. Psychiatrist Dr. Clyde Olson points out love goes on even without intercourse.
It's a small part of human sexuality. The warmth and the relationship and the closeness are still vital.
In Duluth, Barbara Riles, News 6.
Most people who've been coming in said, yeah, I knew them both, and it's hard to believe. It's really sad. It just, you don't expect something like that to come.
Left, 2, 3, 4, left, left.
I suppose that it started a long, very serious situation for most of us, but the response of our country, or the people to our country, I think is the outstanding